want to do that too. Okay, look at this.
So Jake Paul finally got his wish to face off with a legendary Mike Tyson. But guess what? He didn't even make it to the ring before getting knocked out. Metaphorically, of course. Tyson's demand for a random drug test and a knockout-only rule sent Jake running for the hills. I mean, who saw that one coming? So the real question is, was Jake ever ready for this fight, or was he just looking for a way out all along? On one side, you got Tyson, a guy who made a career out of knocking people in the next week. On the other side, you got Jake Paul, who built his name by pulling pranks on YouTube and trash-talking people for clicks. It was supposed to be the ultimate clash of generations, old school power versus new school whatever the hell Jake Paul got going on. But now, when this matchup was first announced, the internet went absolutely wild. Now, everybody had an opinion. Twitter, Reddit, Instagram, people couldn't stop talking about it. Memes? Haha, man, you bet there was tons of memes. It was like the whole sports world had been given a giant bucket of popcorn, ready to watch Jake Paul get absolutely demolished. You had some folks seriously wondering if Jake could handle Tyson's punches, while other people was just waiting for the moment when Tyson's fist would send Jake into orbit or a coma. And boy, oh boy, did Jake Paul love that attention. Nah, he was eating it all up like it was spaghetti night. Fresh off of his wins against non-boxers and retired athletes, Jake was flying high. He actually had the nerve to say that he was the future of boxing and that Tyson was just some washed-up legend past his prime. I mean, can y'all imagine that? The guy who not too long ago was known for being on Disney Channel, acting like he could take on a man who knocked out some of the toughest fighters in history. It's almost kind of funny. You know, Jake really thought that he could just walk into the ring with Tyson, trash talk him into submission, and come out the winner.
Hey, I hope y'all keep that same energy when I knock this old man the out.
I don't know if he's in his prime. He's fat. He should be lean and mean. He's fat and funky.
Not to mention, if Tyson is so trash tier, why's Jake Paul bothering to fight him in the first place? This dude wasn't just cocky, he was downright delusional. Jake kept on mocking Tyson's age, like the guy hadn't been knocking people out before Jake was even a glimmer in his dad's eye or a back rub gone wrong. Now, he questioned Tyson's stamina, implying that a man who spent his entire life in combat sports couldn't last in a ring with a YouTuber who trains part-time. In every single interview, Jake was grinning ear to ear, convinced that he had Tyson all figured out. He even called himself the young lion, ready to take down the old guard, like this was some kind of coming-of-age Disney movie. But Tyson hit back at Jake, calling him fat and funky for somebody who's a boxer. Sorry, somebody who calls himself a boxer. But as all this hype started peaking, things took a dramatic turn. Now, Jake Paul's cockiness met a wall called Mike Tyson's no-nonsense approach. In typical Tyson fashion, he calmly but decisively laid down two game-changing rules that left Jake scrambling for a way out. It was like watching a master chess player make a checkmate move while the other guy was still learning how to play the game and tie his shoes. Tyson's first move? A knockout-only victory rule. That's right, the fight can only be won by knocking the other guy out. No technical knockouts, no lucky referee stoppages, just pure old-school lights-out boxing, baby. And let's be real, the odds of that happening were about as slim as Jake Paul deciding to quit YouTube and become an actual boxer for once. Oh man, but Tyson wasn't done with just that. Oh no, the knockout rule was just the beginning. Next, Tyson announced that there would be random drug tests leading up to the fight. And not your standard, predictable pre-fight test where you can prepare for weeks. Nah, Tyson wanted surprise tests, no warnings, no heads up. Just pee in the bottle time, dude. And here's where things really started to get interesting, because we all know Jake Paul's history with controversy. The rumors surrounding his wins, the whispered allegations of rigged fights and bribed referees. Suddenly it all seemed just a little bit too close for comfort. Tyson was making sure that if Jake was gonna step into that ring, he'd be doing it without any help. Tyson's message was simple. This fight was gonna be clean, fair, and decisive. No shortcuts, no shady wins, just two men in the ring, and the only way to win was by knocking the other guy out cold like Thunderdome. It was the kind of challenge that separated the real fighters from the pretenders and the posers, and Jake Paul was starting to look a lot like the latter. So Jake went from being a loudmouth internet kid who had no problem mocking Tyson's age and abilities to a guy who suddenly realized that he was way out of his damn league. Gone was the cocky grin, the smug comments about Tyson being past his prime. Instead, what we saw was a scared little kid who wasn't expecting Tyson to flip the script like that. Naturally, as y'all can imagine, the media pounced on this. The internet was ablaze with speculation. Was Jake scared of the knockout rule? Was he trying to hide something with those random drug tests? Everybody knew something was up, and Jake wasn't doing himself any favors by acting like a cornered animal. Instead of playing it cool, he made things worse by throwing a tantrum that only fueled the fire. Then came the legal drama. Oh, Jakey Wakey and his contract complaints. When Tyson turned up the heat, Jake's first move was to cry foul, claiming that the rule changes were a breach of contract. Like, really, kid? That's your big defense? Instead of training harder or facing the challenge head on, Jake went straight for the, boy, this isn't fair card. Like what? Like he could lawyer his way out of a boxing match? You know, one that he started up anyway? Now, this dude started talking about how Tyson's knockout-only rule and random drug tests weren't part of the original agreement, painting himself as the victim of some kind of elaborate setup. But come on, dude, ain't nobody buying that. Now, the media had a field day with all this. Headlines were filled with stories about Jake's sudden legal concerns, but nobody was buying his excuse. Now, the public saw through his antics, and the general consensus was clear. Jake Paul wasn't backing out because of some contract breach. He was backing out because he was afraid he wouldn't be able to handle Tyson's terms. No TKOs, no shortcuts, just a straight-up fight where the better man wins. And Jakey Wakey, the internet kid, knew deep down that he was not that man. It was a meltdown for the ages. Instead of stepping up and proving his worth, Jake Paul did what he does best. He created a distraction, tried to shift the blame, and hoped that the controversy would overshadow the real story. But this time, ain't no amount of legal wrangling or social media rants gonna save this kid. Tyson had set the stage for a clean, fair fight, and Jake simply couldn't handle it. And then bam, just like that, Jake Paul, the guy who'd spent months hyping this fight, talking big and bad and making promises about how he was gonna take down Mike Tyson, suddenly announced that the fight was canceled. Well, surprise, surprise, he tried to make it sound like Tyson was the bad guy, blaming the rule changes and claiming that the whole thing had been rigged against him. But yo, let's be real, this wasn't about Tyson changing the rules. This was Jake realizing that he was in way over his head and backing out in the most dramatic fashion possible to try to get more clicks. In his announcement, Jake painted himself as the victim, like Tyson had thrown some kind of unfair curveball by asking for a fair fight. It's not in the contract, Jake was whining, as if we was supposed to feel bad for the kid. But look, man, we all know the truth. Jake wasn't ready for what Tyson had in store. That knockout-only rule, random drug test, it was clear that Jake wanted an easy way out, and when he didn't get it, he bailed. This wasn't a strategic decision, this was a straight-up surrender. Media outlets didn't hold back neither. Headlines screamed about Jake's cancellation, and analysts were quick to call him out for what this really was. Fear, plain and simple. They dissected every aspect of Jake's meltdown, from his panic over the random drug test to his complaints about the knockout rule. The consensus was clear, man. Jake Paul wasn't backing out because of Tyson's changes. He was backing out because he knew he couldn't win. And the public wasn't buying his victim narrative for a second neither. So man, what a roller coaster ride this has been. But let me know what your opinions are in the comment section down below. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll catch y'all in the next episode.